Welcome back to The Pitch, an Ashland University Women's Soccer Coaches Show. I'm Cade Crackister alongside head coach Caleb Polino. Caleb, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you on, and the nice thing is we get to keep talking about your team finding success on the field. Let's start with this past week for you guys. Give us a little rundown of what occurred.
Yeah, a little bit different for us. Only one game throughout the week. One pretty simple schedule for us is trying to get better throughout the week, and then a preparation game against Cedarville, who's always a tough opponent. We've played them in the conference tournament every single year, and I think this is our 10th time in 5 years that we've played each other, and still another opportunity to play later in the year. So it's always a different environment there. It's always difficult. Coach Meade does a really good job of preparing for us and making things very difficult. And, we got a result, a tie on the road, and we control our own destiny, so we're really excited about that.
Of course. I was just about to say that, too, and the next question is I feel like there's always a funny circle on the schedule when I see Cedarville and Northwood, two teams that you guys have gone against conference championships and in some pretty highly contested games the past few seasons. Do you think the team has that mentality of, hey, Cedarville's a tough side, we got to go in there with everything?
Yeah, I think, you got to be prepared. And I think, just the emotion of the game is a lot different. I think we've noticed is, our first year kids got to experience what that's like. And, we know each other really, really well, more than most, I would say. So I think for us, it was good for our first year kids to be in that environment, experience it, feel what it's like, the differences between, kind of that rivalry in the last few years compared to other conference games. But, I thought they handled it really well, and we're excited about another opportunity this week.
Yeah, and last time we were on the episode, we were talking about how you guys gave up a goal first, then rallied back to end up winning the game. Well, weren't able to win the game, but we're able to still rally back and draw the game up, and that was basically due to an incredible set piece from one of the sophomore forwards. Talk a little about the impact that a bunch of different players have had on the team this year.
Well, we don't want to try to give up the first goal. So, I think for us, that's kind of the growth of the group this year is kind of responding and making sure that, you come back right away after giving up a goal. We had a couple chances immediately after, but we were trying to draw some set pieces, get in some dangerous areas. I don't think we did that as much in the first half as compared to the second half. And then obviously, Sophia is standing over top of the ball, and she looks at me and she's asked me what she should do. I said, whatever you're feeling.
Yeah.
And she put it in the back of the net, and the group went crazy. And that's a quality that she's brought in with her services throughout the year is that. And I just think it's the next player up mentality. Everybody's figuring out, who Danny Hicks is and making things difficult for her. And it's the responsibility of our players to step up in big moments. And, Sophia did that for us on Saturday night.
Yeah, of course. And I think the nice thing too is your team is not quitting. That's the best part for it. What's making that mentality such a big factor for you guys this year?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time this week, in preparation for Cedarville of just being present in the moment. I think there's a lot of things that players can do to show their presence on the field. Not everybody's going to be a big-time yeller and a big-time vocal contributor, but I think the way that you ask for the ball, the way you're demanding it, you can tell by your body language, players that are into it and that are not. So I think we spent a really long time this week of fine-tuning those things, and especially with the younger group, it's not easy to be the most vocal, but you can also be the most present regardless with your body language. So I think that's one thing that I thought the group managed really well, and there are a lot of players that wanted it, especially late in the game. They wanted to try to get the go-ahead goal, so it was great to see that transition from a very young group.
Yeah, the nice thing, too, is you guys are still atop the conference right now, going into some tough games coming this week. How have you guys been able to rally the storm to start the year and get everyone, acclimated to the college game and still maintain the strong start?
Yeah, typically it's the other way around. The
exactly.
Tough games early, and then you kind of get the pieces back together. And I think for us, we're moving in the right direction. We're getting some players back this week. We're really excited about that haven't featured all year. And I think for us, you need these games to understand what it's like when it gets to the conference tournament.
Yeah.
And I think for us, good exposure. And we love these games. We look forward to them. I think it's a different challenge, and our kids, run towards those challenges. And I thought for us, we handled it really well.
Yeah. And what do you guys have coming this week?
Yeah, so we're on the road to go to Northwood and play them at their place, and then we're at home on Saturday night for senior night. So, that brings a different kind of emotion,
of course,
before the game. And, our group is done some special things these last couple of weeks in order to be able to honor the seniors. So we're excited for Saturday to be able to showcase what this class has done for us.
Of course, and we'll go opponent by opponent real quick before we wrap up today's episode. But starting with Northwood here on the road, tough place to play, obviously, because you got a hike to get up there.
Yeah.
But one thing that stood out to me, thinking back to a trip to Northwood, was that conference championship just a couple of years back. Unfortunately, you guys fell, but an incredible game from start to finish. Ended up falling in penalty kicks at the very last second. You talk about a team like Northwood. They've had some really good showings the past couple of years.
Yeah, they make things difficult. And, Michael does a really good job there of doing things a little bit differently than he does against everybody else. But I think for us, that kind of sparked the movement, I think, for our group to want more. I think that was the first time that we'd been in that position, and at the time that I've been here, that it was taken away from us. And I think that's definitely motivated the group to compete even a little bit extra, especially in that environment. The last time we were there, we showed really well. So we're excited to be able to play them again and see what that rivalry has continued to build.
Yeah, and what's Lake Erie like?
Yeah, they're probably the biggest surprise of the conference this year, and a really good job by Carl and his staff to make things, build success in the program in year two. And I think for us, they're knocking people off. So you have to put them on notice as far as like what they've been able to do, and we'll be prepared. We're going to take care of Northwood first and start that preparation today. But we're going to take Lake Erie very serious, because I know they've put people in some difficult positions and found results.
Of course. And moving forward through the next couple of weeks, what's your message to the team right now, especially as it gets more difficult?
Yeah, don't be satisfied. I think for us, you're at a place in the year where everything comes a little bit stale for teams. And I think for us, like, that's what we kind of talked about with the group is, here's where the top teams separate themselves, right? Like, you're going to see more teams that are maybe, fighting for spots, drop games that they shouldn't. And I think for us, like, that's got to be the message is, if you're a starter, if you're a player off the bench, like, regardless, you got to want more and expect more from yourself. And I think that's going to be the challenge here in the next, 3 to 4 weeks, with everything crashing down at the end of the year, is who's ready for the challenge.
Of course. And lastly, Coach, you had a lot of games at home earlier in the season. You're getting back to a point where you have a couple more games here at Ferguson Field. What's your message to Eagle Nation to get them out and supporting you guys?
Yeah, it seems like it's been forever. But, I think for us, we understand it's break and people are going to be gone. But, to be able to honor the seniors and what they've done here, I think they've left a legacy that continues to build the program to what it is today. And we'd love to see you guys come out and help honor that group of seniors.
Well, Coach, I appreciate your time today.
Yep, thank you.
If you want to catch all the senior night action on Saturday, make sure to head to Flow College, and you can catch all things Ashland University women's soccer. I'll catch you guys next time right here on The Pitch on the Eagle Network. Welcome back to The Pitch, an Ashland University Women's Soccer Coaches Show. I'm Cade Krakus, joined alongside head coach Caleb Bueno. Caleb, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Cade.
Yeah, it's good to have you on, and another good week for your girls. You want to go over kind of the two games you guys played?
Yeah, we had a road test at Thomas More in the middle of the week, which is always a tough transition with kids in class and getting out and traveling and playing the same day. So I thought we handled it really well. It was great to see a lot of players get some goals for us, especially I think 3 of them with their first collegiate goal, which is really cool to see as well. And then Saturday we responded. I thought we had a little bit of a slow start. We generated chances. Malone made it tough for us. They ended up getting a goal against us, and then we responded really well and kind of dominated the rest of the game. But, I think for us, there's some good learning moments throughout the last 2 games. Yeah,
100%. And something else that was kind of a learning moment for you guys was, coming back, being down a goal, and then ultimately ended up going on to win the game. You mentioned afterwards that's the first time you guys have done that in your tenure here at AU. What's that mean to the program to continue to find first?
Yeah, I think for us, like when we scored the first goal, I think we're like 71 and a handful of ties, with our record, and it's pretty crazy to think. But yeah, I loved how quickly we responded from the goal. I think that's always the biggest piece, is when you give up a goal, like now allowing the other team to have belief. And it took us 5 or 6 minutes to get the equalizer, which was great, and then we found another one immediately after. So I think going into the second half, knowing that we had the advantage was great, rather than either being down or tied would have made things a lot more difficult. But
the response of the group was really good to get it back as quickly as we could.
Yeah, Danny Hicks now nearly is into double figures in goals scored. She's approaching that mark in assists as well. But a player alongside of her that's kind of started to shine as of recent is Kira Erling off the bench. Give a little insight into her play and her involvement now in this offense.
Yeah, I think for us, we're generating a ton of set pieces, and that's not a secret. And Kira is one to put herself in a position in training to score off those, and that's why she's getting rewarded for the things that she's doing in training consistently. And I think she's always a kid in training that will definitely bring some life into the game or whatever we're playing. And I think that's kind of what we needed is, being down, trying to find some momentum in the game and putting her on and creating another impact. Like, you got to keep rolling with the dice when you're feeling lucky, and Kira's doing a really good job of that.
Yeah, and that game on Saturday, we have to talk about it. Was it Olympico? Did she score off the corner kick?
Yeah, it's funny because I heard you guys like in the video after, but she actually did it against Kentucky Wesleyan and got called back.
Wow,
so
okay.
That's the second time she's done it.
That's crazy.
Not something that we expected with the amount of corner kicks that we had for that to be the one that we scored a set piece off of, but it's kind of the second time she's done that this year, and she's putting the ball in dangerous areas, and good for her to reward herself with an unbelievable ball.
Yeah, I was about to say, too, the movement on that ball, I mean, it carried back post, top right corner, top left corner, technically.
Yeah, I told Grace, I was like, what are the odds that she scores that goal and the wind's blowing out?
Exactly.
So,
that's crazy.
A lot of really weird things, but hey, we'll take it however we can get it.
Exactly, and that's the thing. You guys continue to find different individuals to score goals, different ways to score goals. How does that speak to the offense trying to, I wouldn't necessarily say find an identity, but find a rhythm?
Yeah, obviously what Danny's been doing, she's on everybody's scout report, and when she gets the ball, you can see 2 or 3 players immediately coming to go defend her, and I think it's freeing up players to create chances themselves as well. So, I think she's been involved with a lot of things that we've been doing, and it's ultimately up to our players to put themselves in positions to be successful. And, I think that's where you're seeing the goals come from, is drawing attention and then putting yourself in a dangerous area and finishing your chances. So that's been great.
We talk about chances all the time. You guys outshot Malone 24-1 and had 21 total corner kicks. We mentioned the one corner kick you guys were able to score on, but how does it speak to the ability of that offense to, I feel like, never take their foot off the gas?
Yeah, I think that's the area that we've grown with, is even when we sub, we have kids that are relentless in the pursuit of trying to create chances. And I think, when you have that depth, and we always say, hey, the first half they're going to be able to hang, and the second half they're going to try to survive. And I think playing constantly a rotation of players and just putting the next person out there to go run at someone is definitely taxing for a back 4 or back 3, whoever we're playing against. And we believe eventually that we're going to continue to do that and find ways to score goals, and we have been.
Yeah, you guys now sit with a 6-0 conference record, undefeated so far. You guys have a couple tough games coming up here soon. How do you remain atop the GMAC standings?
Yeah, I think we have to have conversations about the emotions of the next few games, right? Like the Cedarville, the Northwood schedules, the Finleys, all these teams that we're playing against are big rivalries, or the games are a lot more emotional than maybe some previous games for us, and we have to be able to balance it. We have to be able to match it and not allow it to overwhelm us. And I think for us, that's the conversation with not having a game this week, is just preparing ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and understanding what the expectations are. We have a lot of players that haven't played these teams before and don't understand, we've played them in conference finals multiple times since I've been here, and that's what that game brings, is a conference final environment, and we have to be able to match that.
Yeah, I talked to head coach Katie Kuhn earlier this week on the volleyball side about being at home for homecoming. You guys won't afford to be on the road. Do you guys still kind of get the festivities rolling heading into the weekend?
Yeah, it'll be interesting for us because Danny is getting nominated for Athlete of the Year. So,
wow.
She's receiving that award Saturday morning, so that's something that our group will probably be able to attend before we leave. So, we're going to partake in as much as we can with the dedication of the pillars and stuff like that. I think you still have to enjoy, even though we're not physically here, but the things leading up to it are something that's really cool here at AU, and our group will definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, and a bit till you guys return back to Ferguson Field. How do you weather this storm right now and keep on chugging along?
Yeah, we've prepared ourselves, right? We've played some really good teams on the road, even in years past. This is nothing out of the norm. And, for us, it's take the first game this week, and we only have one, and we'll start preparing today and throughout the week for Cedarville, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and last thing for you, Coach, is there any players that we haven't mentioned yet so far, maybe first years or players that are kind of hiding in the shadows that you really want to mention that have stood out?
Yeah, I think when you lose a player like Merrick Mahalik and being a multi-All-American for us, those are big shoes to fill, and I think Carly Kress has done an unbelievable job for us, and and providing a lot that Merrick provided as a senior.
Yeah.
And, as a first-year player, knowing who played in that role before you is always pressure and expectation, but I think she's managing very well. So, really proud of what she's been able to do for us and stepping in right away and filling in a big role for us that we needed.
Perfect, Coach. Well, thanks for your time today.
Yep, thank you.
We'll step aside. As a reminder, you can always tune back into The Pitch, an Ashland University Women's Soccer Coaches Show, every single week to get more insight into the Ashland University Women's Soccer team. Stay tuned to everything coming up here soon on the Eagle Network. We'll catch you guys next time.